I'm Carla Ramirez, your local South Bay Farmers agent, and I'm here today with Steve Aspel, former Redondo Beach mayor and a former district manager at Farmers Insurance. Right now, the waterfront and the Redondo Beach Pier are having a lot of litigation. Share with me a little bit of your experience as mayor and any litigious exposures or occurrences that you came across.
There's a lot of things as mayor still can't talk about on the litigation for this pier, but the pier needs some renovation, and the city's a little divided on that, so it'll work itself out. And I have faith that it'll eventually be a beautiful place. With cities, they're self-insured on the litigation like that, so they spend millions of dollars on lawyers. It's not like your home or your rent apartment or something where you have liability insurance. My career with Farmers, I was there for 37 years, and I had 20 years as an agent and 17 as a district manager. Wow. And you asked about liability coverage.
Yeah, some of the things you came across, your agents came across.
Yeah, one of the interesting things when I was an agent, and this was way back when, I think in the early 90s, a young couple I know rented an apartment, and they didn't want to have renter's insurance. They were trying to just get by in the bare minimum and everything. Right. But they were both doing well financially. So I talked them into getting a renter's policy. I said, I'm not just trying to do this for myself. You need to have renter's insurance because you can't afford to pay for all your furniture and everything like that if it burned down. So, and it has liability insurance. He goes, why do I need liability insurance? It's basically because if somebody gets hurt on your property, they're going to sue you. I don't have any guests or visitors. I don't worry about it. Anyway, at the end of the day, he bought the policy. And since he was an up-and-coming professional, he was going to make a lot of money in the future. So I got them to buy an umbrella policy for $1 million. And then we put that on their cars and their renters. And lo and behold, about 2 months later, they're going to move. Okay. And they enlisted their friends to help them move because they had pickup trucks. Okay. And one of the afternoons, they're coming down, they're moving their furniture out of the apartment. Young man's backing down the stairway with a huge couch, the kind of couch, a sofa that folds out into a bed, and they're extremely heavy. So then he trips, and there they go, end over end, and they had to call the paramedics.
And this is his friend or somebody?
His friend. He didn't hire him. He just had a friend. He says, oh, you know, the old thing, I'll give you a pizza and a beer to help me move. Yeah. So his friend now is really injured. He had a broken back and I remember a broken leg. And at the end of the day, he's crippled. He was probably going to be in a wheelchair for a long time. So his friend filed a lawsuit against him because he wanted to be compensated. And just because they're your friends doesn't mean they're not entitled to have compensation from the insurance company or from you. He wants to be compensated. Well, even though he's your best friend, you still owe them. Right. You're liable for them.
He's still going to lose income from not being able to work.
Exactly, and plus he'll be crippled for the rest of his life. And he filed a lawsuit against his friend, which is all fair. And Farmers Insurance ended up paying out about $1 million on the claim. Wow. And had he not had that renter's insurance, he'd be paying still 20 years later.
And the umbrella, because renters only goes to $500,000.
Exactly.
So you really need that umbrella for that extra million,
Good. That's why you're the professional agent here, because you have to have the umbrella.
So you did a good job.
And the problem with, when you go to deal with friends on insurance, sometimes they think, well, I don't really want to buy insurance from you because you're my buddy. Right. But you have your friend's best interests at heart.
And actually, when you're friends with your clients, you know a lot more about what they actually need because there's a lot of exposures as clients they don't disclose to you. Exactly. And only you as a friend know that they really have that exposure and should get that protection.
That's a great point because, yes, strangers will not disclose everything. Yeah. You're still a stranger to them, not going to tell you about the $5 million they inherited that's in the bank. Exactly. But your friends, you know them and you want to take care of them.
You know how many kids they have,
exactly.
What homes they have. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's much easier to insure my friends, actually.
And sometimes agents with their friends don't want to pry too much or oversell. But in this instance, when I did this for this guy for the renter's insurance, he was very, very thankful at the end of the day. And in those days, a renter's insurance probably cost $80 a year. And it wasn't like he was
Oh, wow.
going to break the bank.
Although it's very economical now. It's only $130 a year.
It's inexpensive and a good
Economic.
value. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's just liability exposure is everywhere we are. We're walking the pier. We could trip on one of these cracks and have a claim against the city. You could visit somebody and their house and their dog could bite you.
Right.
You could have, there's no end in the potential claims on a liability. You know, if you have a house, you could have a fire and it stops at whatever the value of the house is. They
Right.
rebuild the house or renovate it. On liability, it's whatever a judge may decide to award or a jury. So I've seen dog bites turn into $200,000 claims. Little bitty dogs.
Me too.
Yeah, and I had one where my dog bit my neighbor right in the bottom, right in the butt. She had 3 stitches. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you need to have a lot of liability insurance because, you know, they can go after you forever and ever and ever.
Right. So my dog is a husky, and I actually had a dog bite claim.
She
Fortunately,
yeah.
it was a dog she bit, not a human. So here's the discrepancy in this liability. Dogs are considered property, so it's property damage.
Exactly, yeah.
Versus humans, which would be bodily injury, which is almost limitless how much they can collect. On property, you can only collect the replacement of that property loss. Fortunately, she could not sue for more than the cost of the replacement of that dog or its medical bills, which actually went into the tens of thousands because it was in the hospital for quite a while.
And the company still paid.
The company paid out of my property damage liability.
Right, but see, it's a finite amount of money when you have an animal or
Yeah.
a piece of property.
But
With a human being,
limited,
it's not, yeah.
exactly.
The goal is to get old someday. They want to get old profitably without losing everything. And that's why you have an insurance company like Farmers to take care of those situations.
A question I get asked a lot is commercial versus personal liability. I've gotten asked, I'm volunteering for this organization. Is that going to be covered on my homeowner? Do I need to take out a commercial policy? So defamation of character right now is a hot topic, right? It comes into play in commercial, political, it comes into play personal. Well, I had a personal defamation of character claim where one of my clients said something bad about his kid's hockey coach.
No way.
Yes.
Okay.
In a heated,
That's a typical parent.
in a
Okay.
heated game, and he spoke a few, negative words. And the guy ended up getting voted out or fired, basically. And he came back and sued the parents that had spoken bad of him
Right.
during this game. Defamation of character. So that was covered on his homeowner's policy.
Correct.
So homeowners is where you get your personal liability insurance, including personal injury coverage, and so fortunately that was paid out. Over $30,000 was the settlement they gave him.
Right.
And that's not including legal fees.
Although the legal fees are probably
The
more,
legal fees
way
were
more.
much more.
And
yes.
because I know the insurance company they'll defend that case. They don't want to set a precedent.
Exactly. So the legal was much, much more, but that was just the settlement they gave to that referee.
Wow.
For
Well,
that.
defamation from a parent in a little league or a sporting thing, that's going to be more prevalent. As it's not the same as it used to be. They want their kids to go to college on a scholarship, so they're going to yell at all the coaches.
This client asked me, I'm volunteering for an organization. Is that commercial liability or personal liability? Well, so there's two things that matter. One is the subject matter related to your work, to the work that you're doing and volunteering on, or is it a personal issue? So that's where the discrepancy is. So even if you're in a voluntary group, if they're working on like a campaign, let's say against the waterfront or
Right,
whatever,
exactly.
If the nature of the lawsuit is coming in saying you're defaming for that content having to do with this group's
Right.
intent, basically that will be commercial. So that would need to they would have had to have taken out a commercial officer's public
Correct, yeah.
official's liability insurance to cover that. Versus if this voluntary guy is individually maybe defaming one person, outside of the scope of what that group is doing, then that would be covered on his personal homeowner's policy. So whether it's personal or commercial depends on the content and how it relates to who you're working for or what you're doing.
Well, you know your stuff here. This is great. It's amazing. If you're an elected official and you get sued, the city does pay for your legal fees.
So that would be commercial.
Unless it's out of the scope of your duties as a mayor
Exactly.
or a
so
council
if
member.
you defamed your daughter's coach even while you were working, that's still a personal
It's still a
matter.
personal liability, exactly. When you're a volunteer, let's say you belong to a Kiwanis or a Rotary or something, they have They usually have a liability policy in that club.
They should,
They
but
should.
not all
I
clubs
know.
have them, and because they think they're not exposed, but they are. And if you're going to volunteer for an organization like that, you should definitely make sure they have that policy in place.
And if they don't, you can have your own insurance and you'll be covered as a backup.
Not if it's in the content, the
you
scope
correct
of
me
the
right
work
there.
they're
Okay.
doing. So you definitely want to make sure that that organization has a line of defense, because
there you go.
If
Okay.
it falls commercial, it will not be paid out of a personal.
See, it's amazing. You can write a book on things I don't know about insurance, I think, so as the longer I'm out, the more I forget. It's funny, but the thing about farmers, which I always sell people on, and especially my job was to recruit people and to be agents, is that we have agents that actually care. We were talking earlier about you're their friend.
Yes.
And I was talking to some people yesterday afternoon at the Elks Lodge right around the corner here, and their kitchen had a small leak in it about a month ago. It came through the wall, and as they opened up the wall, they found out it had been leaking for a while. And now the whole kitchen's being torn out. It's going to be a major undertaking. And the reason she's talking to me about it is because they have USAA, and they don't have agents.
Right.
So she said, I can't get any answers, nobody's helping me. And I said, see, you might have saved $20, but you didn't have the agent.
Especially if you're a business owner, you need someone to consult.
Yeah.
Because even if there is, and there not always is a margin of cost, but even if there is, I mean, you pay a lawyer, you pay an accountant thousands of dollars a year to get that consultation. So, that's what we do, and hardly are we ever that much more expensive, but it's totally worth it.
You're never, insurance is never going to be something where you can always say you're the least expensive or the most expensive. If you have any company in the country, after 10 years, they're about all the same. They're up and we're down, they're up, and things like that. So you got to go with an agent you trust, and it's all about the agents like you who make the company happen. By the way, I heard you were the South Bay Agent of the Year.
Yes, Farmers South Bay Agency of the Year this year. Very excited.
How long have you been an agent?
13 years now.
And you're already that's an Agent of the Year for the entire South Bay.
Yes.
That's amazing. How many policies do you have, or what size is your operation?
We've got about 6,000 households right now.
My Lord.
If you guys have any questions about liability, your homeowners, commercial, call my team. We love answering those questions.
That's your job.
Yes.
Plus you like people.
Yes.
And all your customers are your friends at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is really cool. You've come up in 13 years, and to be this huge of an agent, that's something. I was never close to that as an agent after 20 years. And as a district manager, I never had one agent with 6,000 policies. So that's amazing. Proud of you. That's very good. Okay.
Well, thanks so much, Steve.
You're welcome. Okay.